Okay, we are going to learn about the global funds market and crowding out today. You should have seen several videos that I made about loanable funds, one that I made and the one the ACDC guy made, and another one I sent. So, and you have the work that I have in front of me, you have the whole thing. So today I'm going to do activity 44, and you can see the crowding out, okay? So essentially, you can see here that we just have an ADAS graph, no long run, just a short run and an AD. And then we have our money market graph, right? So let's say that we do expansionary monetary, especially fiscal or monetary policy. We'll just say monetary. We'll just say fiscal. And let's say we move AD this way. Oh, there we go. We move AD this way, right? And that raises the price and raises output. Okay. So that does those things. And as you know, it's going to move money demand this way eventually because of the inflationary pressure due to the fiscal policy expansion. And that's normal. However, and this is stuff you've already done before. However, global funds market is something a little bit different. So you know how to do, this stuff right here. So let's scroll down a little bit to the global funds market. All right. So you can see that on the y-axis, you have interest rates. These are actually real interest rates on the y-axis. And then on the x-axis, you have the quantity of loanable funds. And this should all be reviewed from those videos that I showed you, but I want to go through this with you. So anytime that we are looking at this, we have the demand for loanable funds. And what this is, it's the demand for borrowing money. Any money that's out there, that's demand for borrowing money. And this by itself is the private sector. When we end up having expansionary monetary or fiscal policy, if we go into debt to do it, we're borrowing money that we don't necessarily have. That's not the coronavirus. Those are almonds. Anyway, good Lord. So when we, this is ridiculous. When we borrow money, when the government borrows money, it's borrowing money from the same place that everyone is, which is the market for loanable funds. And what that'll do is it'll increase the demand for loanable funds. So now you have the private sector plus you have the government sector. All right. So what you're seeing is you have your interest rate was here, but now your interest rate's all the way here. You had this much in terms of investment, but now you've got this much investment. But the problem is that at this interest rate, right? At this interest rate, it's going to push out or crowd out private investors, because at this interest rate on the demand curve, this is how much they want, right? So at this interest rate, we only want to have this much. And so you can see this new demand curve of private investment plus government is now pushing out private investors, right? They were having this much investment, but because of the increase in demand, it raises interest rates, as you can see from here to here. And what that does is we just move along the demand curve until we get to this interest rate. And you can see we literally are having, right? I'll use red. We were right about here, right? The investment, but now we're here. So we've literally been crowded out because of the increased demand. So the supply curve, this supply of loanable funds, as I mentioned in the videos, it includes all the money from the Fed. All right. It includes all bank deposits. So that's a really big one, right? All the deposits from banks. And it includes all money from foreign investors. Okay. So if we want to bring the interest rate down, then we have to go back up here, and we would actually have to fix the supply curve. So what could we do to bring the supply curve to the right? Well, as you can see, the Fed is part of the supply. So if we had expansionary monetary policy, we'll use yellow. and oh dear, that's not very good, but we had MS sub 2 here, you can see that would bring down interest rates and it would increase the supply of money. And so what that'll do on this graph down here is we will use yellow again, and that will increase the supply of loanable funds. And here is where the new demand curve meets the supply curve, and it brings down interest rates and it gets rid of crowding out. Okay. So that's essentially what we're doing here. And they're going to ask you some questions, as what happens when we move AD because of fiscal policy. It tends to increase interest rates, and then how we apply it. And so these are questions that you should be able to do after my little video and after watching the 2 videos online. So hopefully that will work.